Oh,
Hi,
shit.
everybody.
I thought you were going to bring me up.
No, I'm just bringing
I'm
you
already up.
Yes.
I'm already up.
Hi, guys. Welcome back. One, I just want to start off by saying thank you to everyone who was patient with us last night because we were honestly trying to wait it out and see were we able to do Anchor Watch and also the Vanderpump Rules after party. Guys, Jason and I have not been feeling well. I think that we've run ourselves into the ground. You guys know that we're doing a 45-day challenge. Plus, we had family in town. We're traveling all over the place. And then we're still trying to work at the same time. And you said it, Jason. You actually said to me, you're like, you're going to burn out. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I'm not.
I
I'm
mean, it
30.
happens. I think a lot of people are kind of in that burnout zone too. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm happy to be here today, but I look like I'm about to fall asleep. So
No,
this is-
first of all, I talked to Wendy at Starbucks this morning and she
my
said to
God.
me, she goes, "Hey babe, did you go to the gym?" She's like, "You look like shit." I was like,
Hey, you can always count on the Starbucks ladies to be extremely honest, especially in the morning, because they always look on point in the morning.
I had my
You
mom
know?
on the phone and my mom's like, "Did she just did she just say that?" And I said, "I'm not going to the gym. I don't feel good." And she's like, "Yeah, I can tell you don't feel good."
Oh
And
my
I said,
gosh. I
"Thank
think like
you."
another day. We need another day just of like after this, just bed.
And then, you know what's
Bed.
funny is
It's fresh air in
I
bed.
know that we're back to talk about the Vanderpump Rules recap, you guys, but we had the best time in Charleston, which I cannot wait to play in the city. We are going to have an incredible time, and we are going back this weekend. And I guess, are we going back every weekend until we move? I think so.
It's crazy, yeah. I'm so glad it's not that far
This feels
from
like a
us, but
members only, by the way.
we need to do a members only. In
This
fact, we should
kind
do
of
a
feels
members
like that.
only when we do like when we do the next trip to Charleston. We should do that. That'd be fun.
Yeah, we could do that
That'd be fun.
and show the behind the
I'm
scenes of
so
like what we're doing.
excited. I love that city though. I love that city. Okay, we have to jump into this Vanderpump Rules because I'm reading a lot of things in the live chat. I've seen a lot of comments where the show feels tired, where it doesn't make sense, where it feels overproduced. I mean, how are you feeling about Vanderpump Rules? We are episode 5. So, I mean, we've been warmed up now. I think we're ready for something to transpire on the show, right?
I
Where are you right now with the show? How you're feeling about how the season is starting and set up? Because I'm reading the live chat, guys. I can see you. I can see it sucks. It's tired. Like it's not the same.
Well,
What
you
do
and
you think?
I okay, so guys, also in the live chat, I would like to ask you the same thing. Pop off with a 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, what you would rate the episode. For me
Ooh, these
personally,
comments.
Jason, you saw last night where we sat there and I can always tell based off of and I watch you like a hawk. Like I do. I'm always paying
Who,
attention
me?
to what yes.
Oh God, that's scary.
Yeah. I don't care if you're cooking, if you're cleaning, if you're on your phone. I see you.
That's weird.
Okay.
Okay.
So
All right.
my thing is while I'm watching you, while we're trying to watch this, I see that you're on your phone. And to me, that's an indicator of you are bored. So I can
Yeah.
already tell where you're going with this. And I was trying to understand the episode because I saw where Katie Maloney and Lala Kent both came out and they said that the first part of the season is slower and that it picks up. And Lala even made a great point saying, and I never would have, and I want to ask you if you would think this like her or if you wouldn't. But she said at the beginning of this season, she was so nervous going into season 11 because season 10 was at such an all-time high with the ratings and the
Right.
scandal that people would have just found season 11 to be boring. And I wouldn't have thought that. I would have thought that ride this wave while you can and that it would have been like amazing.
Yeah.
Now I'm watching it and I'm like, no, it's boring. I hate that.
Matt, but then the thing about a Scandival kind of thing is I don't know if we could have just stopped there. Could you? Could we have
What do you
just
mean?
stopped there, like season 10, like Scandival, and then just stop?
It would have been the most iconic reality show in history if they would have stopped at Scandal, but it wouldn't have made any sense for business dollars.
Well, I mean, yeah, I just feel like they picked up cameras right away. I mean, they picked up cameras what a couple months after this happened or something like that, right?
Yep.
So it's kind of fresh while they're filming, but we like already know everything. So it's kind of I don't know. I really don't know how this pans out. I don't what does it mean if the rest of the season sits like this and it's stale? What does it mean?
Well, from what we're hearing though, from Andy Cohen on Sirius Radio XM, and also from Lala Kent on her Give Them Lala podcast, and Katie and a few other people, we're hearing that this is like now we're getting over the hump and it's about to get really exciting. So I
I
think that
think
we
so
just have to,
too.
I hope so.
I
I think
think
that we have
so.
to kind of just sit in there with them. But we pick up on this season with Ariana and Katie, and we kind of jump off on the fact that, well, they're in a bit of a shitty situation. You want to elaborate for us?
Yeah, I mean, listen, anytime you open a restaurant, especially in West Hollywood, it's a pain in the ass. There's so many violations. I mean, you see already they have permit problems that are like plaguing their opening, right? So they can't get the right permits, and then they don't have a permit for a patio because that was only for a certain time. Now they need to be ADA compliant, which that was a huge thing when I remember they rolled through all the Vanderpump places and we had to go over what's ADA and what is not anymore, because things change, things are updated. But then you get violations and that happens and those are expensive. It is a pain in the ass. Anybody who is opening a restaurant, it takes a lot, but B, a restaurant in West Hollywood where even the front of their shop, that whole street on Robertson, that's going to change into a pedestrian walk. So I'm sure rules and things will change yet again down the line. So pain in the butt. But when they talked about, which was kind of nasty, like someone defecating in front of their store, like
I've
finding
never thought
poop
to
on the
shit on
ground.
somebody's patio. I've never
I
thought like,
never thought that would happen in Los Angeles, but the last time we were there, we were staying in a
mm,
great hotel in Beverly
yeah.
Hills, and right outside, literally,
That was
we
when
were
you got me
watching.
kicked out of the fucking hotel.
Yes.
Yes. Guys,
No,
and
but
he
that's
did not get
we
me kicked out of
saw
the hotel, by the way. That's
no,
not, watch Heather McDonald. That is not what happened,
that's
but
not what happened.
it's a
But
Thanksgiving story for sure.
sure. But yeah, we saw people like defecating, shooting up. I mean, the city has changed a lot. Like there's a lot of cleanup that needs to happen, especially before they get the Olympics in 4 years and stuff. I just feel sorry for them because there the process for permits is not timely. The process to for violations, nothing is timely in West Hollywood. It just really isn't.
Can I
So I
ask
kind of
you,
feel like they're in a predicament of like, what do we do at this point? Because you you're opening the sandwich shop off the height of this like scandal, right? So
okay,
are you
can I
what's going to
ask you
happen when
3
the scandal
questions
just
really quick?
falls? Mhm.
I want to ask you 3 questions, and I'm going to make them short and short answers. That way we can get back to Vanderpump Rules, since that's what people are watching this for. Guys, 250 plus in the room. Smash that like button, show some love. Um, One, has there ever been a city that's never been able to get their shit together in time for the Olympics that has hosted the Olympics?
Yes.
Okay. Now, 2,
All of
do
them.
you, huh?
Almost all of them.
Okay. And then 2, interesting. Do you think that West Hollywood will get their shit together in time for the Olympics?
I don't know. The plans for West Hollywood and the plans in that area, especially Robertson and the Abbey where the library sits, the Pacific Design Center, all of that, beautiful plans. And every time we go back, we see one of those plans kind of finished, right? And done.
Right.
So I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, you got to think about it, Adam. The only Olympics in the past, I don't know how many Olympics that has actually profited. The
Yeah.
city has actually profited was Salt Lake City in 2002.
Do you think that the risk is worth the reward? Like Jax Taylor opened up his sports bar, Jax's, in Valley Village, and he opened it fast compared to like Tom and Tom opening Shorts and Sandy's, and also the girls opening the sandwich shop. He opened it fast. He like put a couple things up. They put up like a flower wall. They added a little zhuzh here, a little like Hobby Lobby here. Bada bing, bada boom. We're good. We're done. It's open, but it's making money. So I just want to say that his business is making money, and it's a massive, I think it has like 4 or 5 bars in the same location.
Who?
And
Jax?
yeah,
So Jax took over that Rocco's Tacos place over the Rock, not Rocco's Tacos, sorry. I'm thinking of Palm Beach. Rocco's, the pizza place by the gas station. Remember?
No.
That's where it is. It's right
What gas
there.
station?
So it's already an established in Studio City. That's where Jax's is.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, we've been there. We have a picture there. You don't remember driving down the street sometimes, so it's okay.
Shut up.
No,
Okay.
it was already like kind of a zone. It has a great location. It used to be a hangout there, so yeah. But you can tell that they rushed to open that. It doesn't look very like there was a lot of thought process going into it.
I know, but also maybe listen, maybe they're making the money and then able to put more and more as they go, as opposed to, I mean,
I
something
mean, I
about
don't
her
know.
kind of like they're in a pickle.
They're in a pickle. Like, I don't know at this point if I would move forward with this. I just don't know all of the details. But when you're being hit and hit and hit like this, I mean, the cost, just the amount of money you're kind of draining at that point is
But
not
then
good.
also, then I feel like for them, you would then be stuck in between a rock and a hard place, in the sense that one, you're public figures. So if you don't move forward, then you're embarrassed, right?
Absolutely.
But
This is where they have the payoff, I think, better than Schwartz and Sandy's or better than Jax's place is they have the location. You are a rock's throw from Sir. You
mhm,
are right down the street from Tom Tom, and
yes,
that is a pedestrian loaded the lane. It
location,
really
full street.
is.
And also at the end of the day, too, I think that even though that it sucks for them because they're like, we got to get open and we're so sick of people asking us about getting open. I think it actually works out for them because people are anticipating and now we're sitting in anticipation. So the minute that they open, I don't know how long it'll last, but there will be a lot of interest, at least for like the first 6 months to a year,
Yeah,
of people just like
absolutely.
flooding the gates.
Do you know what I find that interesting too? And I think this is a reason that
I'm sorry,
people
guys.
are tired and a little uh, sick of the redundance of the show, because we started out, and I say this all the time, it's so interesting to watch young people work in these places,
Yeah.
where you're watching them in the restaurant, you're watching what happens. And the show has just changed. It's evolved in a way. It's changed not for the best in certain ways, but it's evolved into a different show, which really works. And then you have something like Scandival that which really keeps us interested. But then it's like, where do we go from here? Like there has to be some kind of resolve. And I think that's what we're kind of seeing in the group of coming around Tom and maybe finding that bit of forgiveness.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're seeing like the group kind of shift and change too. Now you have Katie and Ariana who are not only busy focusing on if they can open something about her, but they're also focusing on questioning their relationships in their group and their friendships and where things stand. Because this has been like the biggest kind of, backstabbing thing that's happened ever, ever on the
Well,
show.
then, and I don't want to fast forward too, but then you have Sheena who's sitting in the group session after like meeting up with Tom Sandoval, and she's telling Ariana, like, I cannot be mad at him anymore because of you. And I saw a preview going into next week's episode where she said during the pandemic, she didn't have any money, and Tom Sandoval gave her thousands of dollars. And I'm like, I know Erica is watching. And I love you, Erica, who is Sheena's mom. And I love Sheena. I love Brock. I love Baby Summer Moon. But how the fuck do we run out of money when we're making so much money at this point? Can I say really quick? This is my biggest fear ever. It's like, guys, no matter what it is, I don't care if you're working at Ruby Tuesday, if they're still open. I worked there for 3 years. If you're working at Red Lobster, if you're working at a car dealership, or you're a big tech CEO, you have to financially plan for the worst. Like this is a
Mhm.
thing. And so, while yes, it's very nice that Tom Sandoval helped Sheena out during this time, I think that's incredible because there's not a lot of people who would do that. So I think that's a testament to him as a friend. Um, I'm
That's
just more
interesting to
shocked
me though
that
that he would
that
help
happened to
her.
her.
Yeah, I'm interested that he would be able to help her out because he had to borrow so much money from his mom to open Schwartz and
No,
Sandy's,
this
right?
was before. She said during the pandemic.
Oh, the pandemic.
It
Okay.
was that
Yeah.
time period off.
Interesting.
But also, like, guys, they're making a fuck ton of money. Where is it going? Right?
That's what I always think. I always think when people, and I'm not saying this is the circumstance of any of them. I mean, I think Sheena just bought like her third, fourth home, right? Like
I think
people
it's her
are
third. I think it's her
they're
third.
all buying homes, doing businesses. I think Lala Beauty or whatever it's called is doing pretty well. Um, you know, but I always think when you're on a hit show and you're so reliant on this show, on this income, if that show falls,
What do
what
you do?
next? Like, what is if you
It's
have to
my
prepare for that
biggest
all the
fear.
time.
Do you know, can I say really quick? It's so funny, and this is more of like a members only thing, but guys, we're not feeling well, so we're gonna be all over the place, and I think that it's okay. And I think that honestly, just give us a break today, please. But like, especially with this, like, I think that it's okay to be uncertain and nervous in certain
Sure.
situations, especially when you're in the entertainment industry. And we saw so many of our friends who worked in Los Angeles who were trying to be actors, who were booking jobs on Days of Our Lives and doing these big things. And then they were getting killed off of that soap opera and they were right back in a restaurant. And they made a shit ton of money at the time. And all they did was travel. We have another friend who she lived out her dreams and she always said, I'm never going to be, like anything like those people who spend all of their money. And then she lived out her dreams for probably about half a decade and she spent all of her money. And now she's back in a restaurant, which nothing wrong with that. But I guess that would be my biggest fear. I think that you get on such a high when you're on a reality TV show like this. You have all of this media attention. People look at you like a celebrity. You're getting these endorsements. But what you fail to remember is that the minute that there is not a syndicated network putting you in the forefront, that comes to an end slowly.
And that's crazy. It's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy because like when you get those big opportunities, you think that there's nothing else in your way. There's nothing stopping you from being this star, making all this money, or there's going to be a next season or whatever. But it's just kind of like it's scary. You have to think
It's
about that. And then
terrifying.
when it happens to you before, like we've had friends where they've had nothing, then they got a lot, then they spent it all and wasted it all. But then they got the opportunity again and they did things differently. So
Do
now
you
I think they're
remember
probably in the space 10 seasons and 11 seasons in of like, if we don't make it to season 12, we need to plan.
do you remember we had friends, Taylor's friends, who came from Texas and they won that game show and they won like $500,000?
Right, right, yeah.
And they were 20 years old. They came in from Texas. They were cheerleaders, super fun guys. Like they were a gay couple. Really, really amazing. A year and a half, they blew through $500,000, which to me was just crazy, crazy kind of money. And I don't know, but I
I
know
mean,
we have more to get to.
they don't really teach financial responsibility in schools anymore. It's crazy. But I mean, guys, I'm telling you, y- the best thing to do is take care of your money and treat it like gold because it's gold. But I mean, like Katie and Ariana, like getting just back to this really quick, skipping the trip, questioning their friendships with their group, it kind of leads me to like, is this group going to split up, or do you think we'll see Katie and Ariana kind of come around in some sense? Because I always go back and forth, and uh, with the Tom Sandoval situation, he deserved a lot of the shit he got. I'm not gonna, say he didn't, but there's got to be. I think after everyone gets mad, there is that chance for forgiveness. I think he's so blind to a lot of things because he's so invested in himself and his ego. But do you think there is room for acceptance of Tom Sandoval? If James can sit there and have a conversation with him, I feel like other people could as well.
Yeah. I definitely think that there's room. Listen, I agree a lot with Ariana in the sense Ariana Maddox said, um, I believe it was on the after party, but she said she doesn't find it fair that Lisa Vanderpump is putting this on Lala Kent and Sheena, saying, listen, this is my experience, and that you guys, like if something happens to him, this is on you too. Essentially, is what she's saying. And I love Lisa Vanderpump, but yeah, I look at it both ways. I'm like, I want to feel sympathy for you, I never want to sit there and play with somebody who's like, who's claiming that they are potentially going to hurt themselves. Never do I want to be a part of that. It's happened in my family. I'm
Mhm.
sure it's happened in your family. I'm sure it's happened in a lot of families, and you don't want to see that. But also, at the end of the day, a lot of me sits back and questions what Tom Sandoval says and does that works for him, that like works for his storyline, that works for the publicity of him. Like, he loves a lot of the attention. So I think that
You don't say.
there's a part of me who worked for him for so long, and I saw the calculatedness of it, and it kind of makes me think like, you know what you're doing. But you cannot say you know what you're doing, because God forbid somebody does something, then you're like, fuck, you feel like an asshole,
Right.
you
I
know?
mean, yeah. I think, like, it's not really for anyone to decide, like, how long it takes to forgive Tom Sandoval or whatever, but I feel like you don't have a show if you're not filming with him, so there's gotta be someone in the group willing to forgive, and I try to put myself in their shoes too, you know, like, Sheena and Tom have known each other since the beginning of Villa Blanca. That is a
Right.
very long time, and when you
A long
have
time.
those people around in your life, whether you've been on the ins and outs. You know, we've seen many seasons of people being friends and not being friends and coming back together and so on. Like I can understand where Sheena's coming from. You know, I mean, I would if I was Sheena, I'd still be pissed about the whole lawsuit thing, which, you know, I'm sure she is. Which is not Tom, it was
Which
her, but
I want to get to that in a second.
yeah.
Before we do, before we get into the lawsuit and all of that, what were your thoughts about James surprising Allie with Graham?
Ooh, I mean, listen, what else was he supposed to do? All right, he has the dog. It's
I
his
heard this was
dog.
all fake.
Yeah, you did say something about that. Didn't you say that the filming of Lisa giving at Vanderpump Dogs, giving Graham to James was filmed after she had actually given Graham back, right?
You want to hear it?
Yeah, I wanna hear it. I wanna know. I wanna know.
Are you feeling any better, by the way?
No. Not at all.
Guys, we are sorry. Thank you, 400 people, for sticking with us.
Seriously.
We are muscling through this bitch. Here we go. Thank you to the Bravo
Oh,
investigator.
wait, what is this?
Lisa gave Graham to James. She never said my name.
Wait, can I just say really quick? Jason loves, if it's anything Rachel Leviss or Raquel Leviss, when it's on 1.5 or 2.0.
1.5. You know, you
Yeah.
have that option when you listen to podcasts or, like, WhatsApp. It's like,
Yeah.
"Let's get to the point.
Always
Let's get
1.5
to
with
the
her.
point."
Okay, here we go. Here we go.
She didn't
Roundabout
say that
sentences.
story that was put out in the press of me surrendering my dog to kill shelter and it was hours away of being euthanized. And I thought that was very interesting because I was like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm a little bit relieved because now I don't have to worry about more death threats and death wishes. I don't know if that scene was reshot so that she could backtrack after being called out on it, or if that was the original thing and she just let those rumors run rampant because it was like propaganda to make me look like this ultimate villain. But I'm glad that I called her out on it and put the real story out there because my family was in contact with the foster that was training and taking care of Graham. And so we actually did know like the story of how Lisa adopted Graham. And I think she realized that we had so many facts that we published to the press that she was going to have to change her story. We've also heard from the fans watching that have been following since all of this happened and been following filming that they witnessed Graham being reunited with James in Tahoe specifically. So I wonder how they're going to transition all of that. So it will be interesting to see. I'm just in this episode how when Lisa gave Graham.
Hmm. Oh, I love that account. They sped her up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I knew that you would love
We
that.
didn't have
But
to do the work. Yeah, this is great.
my thing is going back to it, that makes a lot of sense because as someone who covered everything throughout Scandal and really heavily covered, like, we were in it. I think that there were a lot of moments where it would have made sense to paint Rachel a certain way or to paint the situation a certain way. But then those things made it on page 6. After the articles made it on page 6, the Bravo fans reacted and it swayed in a different way that people were not expecting, which they had empathy for the situation, and that would not have been good for Lisa Vanderpump. So I
Right.
actually kind of agree with Raquel that I think that there was a surprise show up, which is what I originally heard, with Lisa surprising James at Palm Spring or Lake Tahoe, in Lake Tahoe with
That
Graham
moment. It was that
in that
moment they
moment.
filmed, right?
Yep, I think
And
so.
didn't when we were watching this, didn't I lean over to you and be like, "Oh my god, they thought that Rachel was right behind the dog." Because when James said, "I have a surprise," and you saw the dog come down, but Lisa didn't come down, that's why Lala and Sheena quickly reacted. If you go back and you look, you see Lala's face like drop like she's about to like, what the hell's about to happen? Because I really think they thought Rachel was gonna be right behind. Did you get that?
Well, I
You know what I'm
kind
talking
of
about?
did. No, I know what we talked about, but I'm thinking back to it and I'm like, I don't know. The thing is I could see where they could make sense in pre-film or film after the part where he comes to Vanderpump Dogs and he does the whole crying things being like crying thing being connected with Graham. And then the moment which would be organic of him connecting Graham with Allie at the house and Graham meeting the cats for the first time. But what I don't understand is how can you refilm the moment that happened in Lake Tahoe where he would come down and they could say, Lisa found him, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like, how did you
Yeah.
recreate that filming scene? Because he goes through all of those moments in tandem. That is such a good word, by the way. In tandem. Goes through
God,
all of those moments and explains how it happened. And I think that's the part that's throwing me off. Then how did you refilm that?
I don't know. It's
Unless
a mystery.
Rachel is wrong, which she could be wrong.
I mean,
She wasn't
listen,
there.
she's known to not be right, so I who knows, right? Who
Or
knows?
who knows wrong?
I mean, listen, if we had a cat, which we have 2 cats, and you brought home a dog, how would you feel if he just brought how do you feel just in that moment
I almost got rid of
of
our dog when our dog
Allie,
attacked our cat.
right, but just like where Allie was like,
What the
"Is
fuck?
that Graham? Yay." And then like, "Now what?" Like, you saw that on her face, like, "This is not gonna work." This is
Yeah.
not going to do well.
But it has worked, and now Graham is renamed Tippy, so we're all for it. But now moving on, Shorts and Sandoval, they discuss Rachel's name change. Now, not only did they do that,
It's a
she
weird
has
topic.
officially, yeah, she has officially departed from the mental health facility. Tom Shorts looks like he's uncomfortable, but Tom Sandoval looks like Leonardo DiCaprio on drugs. Like just like this old man on the confessional that looks like he's tired, that like looks like you need a tan, that looks like you just got to pull your shit together,
Wait,
that looks like
talking
the
about
world.
Sandoval or Schwartz?
Sandoval.
Oh, okay.
He just looks like the world has like completely, even with him and his slick back hair, and he's like this, and he's like, you know, I thought that
I know all
Rachel
of
and
the
I were gonna be
sudden,
together.
after 10 seasons of filming a reality show, you are this huge, like, icon in your own head. Like, is that what that's the kind of I don't know, that's the kind of
And get a fucking
thing
spray
I get.
tan.
Not a fucking spray tan.
Well, something. Get the like do something. I'm not going to say who said it, but we met somebody in the last month.
Mhm.
This person is very well put together, you guys. I'm not going to say if it's a boy or girl, whatever. They are on a TV show and they made a great point to us. And their point was if you're going to be doing this, why would you not do your best to look your best at all times if you're going to put yourself out there?
Well, then
And
don't you think that you should be preaching this to Schwartz as well?
actually, I think I should be preaching it to myself because I go out in like pajamas to
You
Starbucks.
yeah,
So
you should take your own advice in this in this instance.
yeah, yeah. But I get it for Shorts as well. Yes. Even though, I mean, I guess, yeah, he's just as big. And maybe a shower. Yes. Vicky Harnish.
I mean,
Okay.
you saw like even in the car when Schwartz and Sandoval were driving up to Lake Tahoe, you saw kind of like the breakdown. Like when Sandoval was sharing, it kind of felt good to be acknowledged just a little bit, just like Sheena talking to him and stuff like that. I, as someone who's had friends in my life for like 10, 20 years, there are things that I write people off for, and there are things that I kind of like you bring back into the
Never
fold,
written me
but
off.
it's a tricky situation because I almost feel for Tom in a sense, but like you
Yeah.
created this. So how do you give forgiveness to someone and let them back into the fold and back into your club and stuff like that? But like also remind them, like, don't fuck up again. Don't do it again.
I can
And
tell you.
you're
I
on
can tell you
a
how.
wait, okay, tell me. Fill me in on this.
When that notification comes in via email that says that that direct deposit has been made because you signed a new contract and it's worth 6 or 7 figures, that is how.
I mean, that's how. Yeah, I
That's how.
guess. I
Right
guess we're
there.
not watching the real group, you know?
I mean, at this
This is
point,
where
it's
it's
about the money.
changed. This is
Yes,
where it's
yes,
changed how I was talking about. We're not watching these young kids who work in a restaurant where the storylines are just there. Like they
yeah,
really are. If you're in a restaurant, you're working every day, and even though some things need to be pre-produced for timing reasons, um, which happens on a lot of reality TV shows, you know, that's fine. But when
yeah,
you lose the genuine authenticity of people's actual relationships, because now they're not all in the same situation working in the restaurant. We don't see the things they have to go through every day. They were literally forced to work together every day. Now
but I
they're
think
still
that
being
this is
forced to work together
I
every day, but
told
it's a
you this too.
contract for a TV show, so it's not as interesting because they're
I
not as interesting without the restaurant.
I know, and I also find that when you first start a show, you get a lot of authenticity, right?
Uh-huh.
And then you have your first season, it's 100% like you're authentic, unless like you're really just trying, like you're Noella Birchner on Real Housewives of Orange County season 15,
Not Noella.
um, or 16. I don't know, 16. It was 16. But point is, going back to it, your first season, you're trying to be authentic. Your second season, you feel like a little bit of a star. Your third season, you're an asshole. Seasons 4 plus, you think you're a celebrity. And then that's when you have to really either learn how to play the game, which I think Lala Kent is really good at, or you kind of fall to it and you're not really good at playing it, which Sonia Richards Ross.
Okay. Yeah, I can understand that.
You know what I
I
mean?
can understand that.
Like somebody who is just like, you think just because you're on the show does not solidify your spot. Like there's always somebody who's your dad always told you this. Like there's always somebody who's going to work harder. You do
Oh,
100
there's always
push-ups,
someone
somebody's
waiting in
going
the
to
wings.
yeah,
Always.
yeah,
You know, like when I had you know, my dad always did tell me this because when I was like in the show and I was the star, it's like, well, did you do extra? Did you do something that was better? Because there's always someone waiting to take your place. And that's true. It's very, very true. So you really have to stay consistent in your performance of the show, which
yeah.
some are really good at and some aren't, like you said. Just going over to, I want to go to Brock in two instances. Okay, because we saw
Okay.
him kind of express his frustration with Sheena over the childcare situation because she's still kind of in that situation of not feeling comfortable leaving Summer behind and stuff like that, which I totally get. And we've talked to her about this on the podcast, you know, just how she is a helicopter mom and she's just has that in her, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we saw Brock kind of talk to Sandoval and remind him. It was almost uncomfortable. I don't know, that whole situation in Lake Tahoe where Brock is like talking to Sandoval. It's like, well, you did this. You really, you know, screwed up the group's, you know, camaraderie. You really did this. You really kind of reminded him that you're not completely off the hook just because you're on this trip, just because you're here with everyone. You hurt a lot of people. Your actions hurt every single person in the group, you know?
See,
So out of
I
those two
saw
situations, no, I just want to know what you think because I understood where Brock was coming from on one instance and not so much on the other.
well, I want to say something really quick. I noticed that there were a lot of comments last night on the episode, and some people were thinking that Brock was looking for a moment, a TV moment, to be more relevant, to maybe get a bigger bonus next year. And I can see where people would think that because they're all fighting for a bigger, better contract, right?
Sure.
Um, However, I think that I didn't look at it from that perspective. I looked at it from the perspective of that was his wife who he saw not eat as much. She lost a lot of weight. Her parenting was being, you know, put in question. Who she was as a person was being put in question. Then people were claiming that Brock and Raquel were potentially hooking up in the apartment that Sheena was letting her stay in. I mean, it was one thing after another, plus
Yeah.
the entire stress of the scandal, while also trying to keep up with the scandal and make the money while you can. So there was so much that was going on. And I think that that was a whirlwind for both of them. And he was looking at it from the perspective of, this is what I watched my wife go through. So yes, you should have a little bit of humility when you come back into this group. If you want people to respect you and forgive you, then you need to at least understand that and not come back in like,
And
okay, well,
fair.
I'm here and it's been time.
Fair. I thought that
Because
was
time doesn't heal
completely
all
fair.
wounds. They say that. Time, they're like, oh, well, it's been enough time. That doesn't fucking matter. If you guys,
But they say too that time heals everything. I don't know if that's true. I think for
no,
some things, but not
I
for
don't think it's
everything.
true, because I think that yes, time can help, but at the end of the day, you still have to have that very important conversation that, and Jason and I know this. Jason and I have literally, guys, butt heads like a mother, 10 years in a relationship. And we can sit there and not talk for 2 days, which is fine. But at the end of that, which doesn't happen, like give me 6 hours and I'm like, oh my God, I need a friend. But you still have to have the conversation after you allow yourself the time. And I think that that's what Tom Sandoval is failing to realize here. He's thinking the time should help and that we're going to be, best friends again. And Brock is simply pointing out, no, you still need to
You still
have
got to do the
conversation.
work. You got to earn the trust back, the
Yep.
loyalty. I
Yep.
mean, these are the things that are so important in a friendship. I mean, in this group, no, there's never been loyalty, let's be honest, right? But like, yeah, it's I feel like it's in a different sense. Yeah. Okay, so I understand that about Brock, and I felt the same way. I didn't
Yeah.
feel like he was looking for a TV moment. I really didn't. I didn't feel he was doing anything else. I just felt that he was trying to get his point across, like you said. Now, going back to the situation with Sheena, though, do you think it's fair for him to still be frustrated over the situation of, let's say,
I was actually just looking at my notes. That's why I was looking down. You're
like
talking about the childcare.
yes. Do you think it's
Um,
it's okay for him to be frustrated that he just wants to spend time with her, that he wants to get out? Or do you think he should be more patient in this situation because she is going through a lot? But like someone pointed out in the live chat, if she's going to be a helicopter mom, you might give summer anxiety at some point, you know?
no, but I think that right now, yes and no, and both can be true at the same time. I agree with Brock where he is trying to ultimately look out for the best interest of his wife and say, hey, take a leap of faith and let's trust somebody. Let's find somebody that we really feel comfortable with around our daughter. That way you and I can reconnect and we can get back into our honeymoon phase. And it's not all about the baby. It's just like the baby is always there. We love her, but we can still have mommy and daddy time. I get that. But then I get from her perspective of, you guys have to remember, at the same time that everybody was pregnant, Sheena lost a baby. And that was one of the hardest things that ever happened to her. And Sheena has those very real concerns. And she also has that anxiety. And like she said, postpartum OCD. She like
Yeah,
fixates on things. So you can't say, it's like the same thing if you're looking at Tom Sandoval's mental health and saying that he could potentially hurt himself or something because his thoughts are overpowering, like the reality. It's the same thing that's happening with Sheena. Her thoughts are overpowering her reality. So you can't say one is true and the other one is not, right?
I know. I guess I don't I think people or women who have had more than, you know, one kid, because my cousins from Utah, of course, they have many kids, right?
They
And
have
it
like
was always
12 each.
I know, it was
Like
the
they have like
first kid that they
64 kids.
always were like, oh my god, the first kid, like, "Oh, make sure," and then, like, after that, it just became, like, routine, it was easy. This is
I feel like
her
I would be like one of those backwoods ass dads where I'm like walking around, I'm trying to get the phone, I like turn around, I hit my kid's head on the desk, and
okay,
I'm like,
no.
it's okay.
No, we don't
We
share
were
this at all.
wait a minute, guys. If they're watching this, then I apologize because I get myself in trouble, especially with neighbors and stuff where they watch what we talk about.
Oh god.
And I'll tell stories and they're like, why would you tell that? We went out to a brunch a couple weeks ago and we have this friend and our friend speaks English and Spanish. Our friend is from Spain
Mhm.
and has all of these kids, like these great kids, and the kid comes over crying because she turned around and accidentally elbowed the kid, which was not funny. But the kid's like crying, and I said, "What's wrong?" And said, "Mom elbowed me in the face." And then I looked, and she went to the bathroom, and she comes back, and I said, "You elbowed your kid in the face?" And what did she say?
She
She goes,
said,
"Oh
"What
my
you
God, how
speak?
did you know?"
She said, "How do you know? Do you speak Spanish?" I'm like, "You were speaking English."
Yeah,
Remember
you were
that?
speaking. No, and he also told us, but it was funnier if you would have been there. But it just I guess point is
Everyone's different. You know what I
shit
mean?
happens.
Everyone's different. It
Everyone's
happens.
different.
Okay, so let's keep this going.
Okay,
So
so
I'll
we're
ask you
almost done with this
something.
though. But I wanted to now we already talked a little bit about Sandoval kind of extending the olive branch to James, and I think that
Yeah.
James sees that you know I think that there's a lot of the EP behind them, the executive producers. There's Jeremiah. There's also Lisa Vanderpump, Andy Cohen, who I'm sure had several conversations with him, just like we've seen at BravoCon. And I think what's going on here is that they're saying, okay, we've had a lot of the conflict, but in order to keep the show going, you need to match that with the resolution. And I
Mhm.
think that James is really battling with that right now, but I think he's growing up.
I mean, you got the way I look at it too is they've had a like very, very up and down relationship, Tom and James, from the very beginning. I mean, let's be honest with Kristen and everything, but then coming to a place of really being like almost best friends, and having
Yeah.
that relationship. So you look at it from James' perspective, it's you backstabbed the hell out of this guy, like crazy, and you gave him all the ammunition to be so mad at you by doing this. And what I keep going back to though is every time that Tom says, "This was never my intention," but you kept it a secret for so long. You let it
Yeah.
marinate for
What
so
was your
long
intention?
and you let it boil for so long. It's really going to boil over. It absolutely is. And what do you expect good to come from what you did? I think it's everyone is in a different place. Even James said, we're not like 20 years old anymore, like working at Sir, and he wants everything to be good and move on. I think that's kind of mature. And
Yeah.
like I said, if James can have a conversation, I think there's room for other people to have conversations. I'm really conflicted when it comes to Ariana saying, you know, I can't be friends with you if you're going to be friends with him, because I've been in the situation where I was cheated on multiple times. I found out, and then some of my friends who were like, "Oh," and I think I've said this here, maybe here or the after party. They were like, "I can't believe he did that to you. What an asshole!" And then they would go to him and be like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay?" You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So it kind of feels like
I remember we met one of those
you
friends
lose
at CrossFit.
trust.
Do you
Yeah,
remember? Yeah.
yes, exactly. But we lose that you lose the trust and you lose the everything for those friends because you would expect them to feel for you. You know
Right.
what I mean? But within this group, A, you're filming, B, you guys have worked together for whatever years. Cheating isn't new, although this situation was very different, I find, from all of the other situations that have happened before. So,
And she has to know too that they have to in some capacity. I see that's the part where I struggle with is how much of it is not true from Ariana and she's just committed to it, but she knows that they all have to be friends at some point again.
right,
And how
right.
much of it is really her like putting her foot down saying like, I just won't be around this friend group because she sees the money coming in, right? So how much of it is her real morals and ethics and how much of it is really like I have a
It's a
job to
great
do and I'm putting on
question.
a show, right?
I really think the only way to kind of finish this season too is to have a talk. I feel like you're gonna have to have Ariana and Tom in the same room having a conversation.
No, they try that. They tried to manipulate a situation with
Right, but
Ariana.
I mean like a sit down, unless we're gonna
She
wait
won't
for the
do it.
reunion, unless they're gonna keep going until we get a reunion and there might be some kind of thing. But then like
Well,
that
that's
takes
what
me
we're
into
gonna
my
get.
next question. Where do you
We're
go next season if there's no reconciliation at all?
That's another great question. And I thought it was funny too when Lisa like invited them over to the Wolf restaurant and she's like, take the sledgehammer. And some of them were like, Sheena was like, restraining order. And Tom was like, being single at 40. And Tom Sandoval was like, Lala, James,
Sheena!
worm with a
What
mustache. And I was like, they are all trying to accept you back in right now, potentially. And
Well,
you
maybe
just
that's his way of letting it go. I mean, like they all were, but like, come on, dude. Like we cannot turn around and just have Tom be the victim this season. We can't
that's
do
my
that.
problem with it. That's the part where I struggle with the mental health stuff because I'm like, yes, I think that it's not fair, but I also equally want to match that with I don't think that it's fair for somebody to weaponize mental health on either end. I don't think that it's fair to go against somebody who is exercising their right to having mental health issues. And I don't think that if you're not truly like going through those issues, I don't think that it's fair to fake exercise that right in order to sway an audience to benefit you. And that
Right.
is the part where you look at it and you're like, I don't know which one is true, but then you can't. And that's exactly what the cast is saying. We can't even question that because God forbid we did question that. And Tom Sandoval tomorrow makes a life altering decision. Then who's the asshole here? It's all of them for questioning it when they didn't hear him out, which it's just a dangerous place to be. I don't like it.
Yeah. It's interesting. It really
Yeah.
is. I thought that whole group therapy kind of thing was very interesting. It was a slower episode. Did you
It
not
was.
feel that way?
No,
Because
I
I was like
did.
mid episode. We were like I think 40 minutes in, and we're like, and I can't believe I hate saying this about some of these shows. I wish they could find a way to make episodes more consistent, more easy to watch. Because there are shows that are very easy to watch that they produce, But sometimes I find myself Vanderpump
Like
Rules or
what?
Below Deck even. It's just kind of like it's like you feel it's like a holdover episode, but it was 40 minutes in. I looked at you. I'm like, what is happening? What has happened? You're like, a lot's happened. I'm like, what
No,
happened? What exactly
you
happened?
no. You did that at 11 minutes in and you thought it was 40 minutes in.
Well, it felt like 40 minutes. It felt
It
like
was
40
guys, it
minutes.
was 11 minutes in and Jason goes, "How much longer?" And I was like, "Why
It
am I
was one
doing
of
this with
those.
you? Why am I not doing it with Ryan?"
It was one of those, It's that's what I'm
But
saying. I liked the show originally because we focused around those things.
yeah,
Now we're like I don't know. Like I said on the after party, people in our society, people love to build up the victim who's been hurt. And once they build them up so much, they love to tear them down. And that's what we're going to see happening with Ariana because that is a story. We were behind you. Now we need to accept Tom and give him forgiveness. And if you don't want that, you're the bad guy. Now Tom's the good guy. It's like, like it's very, very confusing, you
very
know?
confusing.
Very confusing.
I do know.
So I don't know.
Okay.
What are you looking forward to, like in next episode this season? Like, where do we go? There's nothing I'm really specifically looking forward to this season.
I'm literally dying right now. um, by the way, thank you again, guys, because over 500 people in here, and also to everyone who's listening on the podcast. I think what I'm looking forward to is to see the real context behind the next week's preview, where you see after Sheena went and did this exercise in Lake Tahoe with Tom Sandoval, she has realized by talking with Brock that she wants to potentially re-enter a friendship with Tom Sandoval. And then
Uh-huh.
you see Ariana sitting there with Katie and Sheena calls and she's like, I can't be mad at him for you anymore. And that's not verbatim what she said. I don't know off the top of my head. Again, guys, I'm not
It
feeling
was,
well, but
what? It was
it
the
was something like
tone.
that.
Yeah, I can't be mad
It
at
was
Tom
the
for
tone.
you anymore. Yeah, it
It
was the
was the
tone.
tone.
I can't be mad at Tom for you anymore. It's like, whoa, girl, what just 180'd you? When you had support when Raquel was, throwing a lawsuit at your face. Like this, it was a quick turn. So it was the tone. So I guess that's what I'm excited for next episode is that tone like was that needed? Or, was there a previous sentence in a conversation,
That's
of
the thing that I'm saying is like the editing context behind it. Like I
yes,
want to see,
yes.
is it something that was so seamlessly edited that you can tell that, okay, that's exactly what happened? Or I'm good with it now. Like I watch and I see where there's like there's gaps and things that like we were talking about this. I forgot which show we were watching last night, but I pointed it out to you and you pointed out another scene to me, and it was a reality show. We're not even going to name it, but I just remembered which reality show it was. But
Yeah.
we realized that there was a gap in filming and it was not seamless at all. But that's the thing. And that's what I want to know going into next week's episode. Jason, what about you?
I just said I just want to know the context before, or of how Sheena is like snapping at Ariana. Like, is it you know is it needed?
What is it?
What is it and why? That's the only thing right
That's
now.
all.
I just don't find very much happening. I feel like we're coming back from Scandival, so it's like kind of we have the hangover from Scandival, but do we need 5 episodes of a hangover from Scandival? We need to like move it along,
Yeah, exactly.
But
Well,
yes,
I think that we've pretty much covered everything. What do you think?
absolutely. And we should be back next week, guys, with everything, depending on what the schedule's like flipping a little bit because we're about to move again and a lot of things changing around here. So we should be back, but otherwise, yeah, I think we covered it.
I think that, yeah, guys. So I think that we're going to start. We will be back for like normal stuff next week because again, we're not feeling well. Just to like piggyback off of everything that Jason just said, I'm sure I'll be back this Friday for Hot Messy Topics, which hopefully, if we're not feeling better by Friday, this is gonna fucking suck. And then this weekend we're going out of town to Charleston again, I believe, maybe for like the next couple weekends while we're getting ready for our next move, just because we're trying to get things together and it's easier for us to do that on the weekends. But for everyone who missed Anchor Watch and the Vanderpump Rules after party last night, thank you for your patience. We are doing our best and we love you guys. Smash that like button, show some love. And if you're listening on the podcast, drop a rating. Bye.